Hey guys, Mike Cook, Agency Manager here of ISS Insurance Group here in Mattoon, with Spencer Swinson today of Kai McLean, also here located in Mattoon. Spencer, he's in charge of Kai McLean. They are a restoration company here in town for fire and water. They have been in business since 2007, and they do probably about 1,000 jobs a year. Is that right, Spencer?
That's correct, we do.
All right. So today what we're going to talk to you about real quick is water damage. I'm going to talk a little bit about the coverages that you need to make sure you're covered on insurance side. And Spencer's going to discuss kind of what him and his crew of guys do once they come out to your property, that process, kind of how the claim situations is handled. And not only does he also represent Kai McLean, he also is a adjuster per se, so he can mediate between insurance companies and also the insured to make sure both parties come to a mutual agreement. So it's great to have you today, Spencer. I do appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get into this. Now, for example, like what we have going on right now with how cold it is out. If you have a pipe burst, that is covered. The reason why it can be covered is because it was sudden and accidental. Now, if you have a leaking item, say a pipe that's got a little bit of a hole in it or such, and it's just been leaking continually for a bit, there's no coverage for that. That is considered negligence to the homeowner for not repairing a item within their own home. But if you do have a sudden accidental burst, then you flood your house. Of course, you get a hold of somebody like Spencer or Kai McLean, they come out and help you out. Now, the big thing that I wanted to discuss today is what they call backup of sewer and drain. So I'm just going to consider it backup here. What this does is, so like last year when we had all that rain in the springtime, and it rained for about a 2-week period, and it flooded people's basements, or their sump pumps stopped working. If you do not have this endorsement on your homeowner's policy, there is no coverage for you. There is a couple different levels that you can get the coverage in. The most ones that you'll see most of the time with most insurance companies, they come in at $5,000, $10,000, or a percentage. Usually this one's probably around, I'd say, $150 to $200 a year. This one's probably about, say, $200 to $250. This one's dependent on how much your home is insured for. I just ran into a gentleman the other day down in the Effingham community. This gentleman has over $1 million home, has a fully furnished basement. The gentleman only had $5,000 worth of backup for sewer and drain. So what would have happened in that situation? Let's say his basement floods. Of course, he has very nice equipment and such down in that basement area. The insurance company would only have paid out $5,000 for all of his damages. He, of course, would have been subject to a $1,000 homeowner's deductible. So at the end of the day, he gets $4,000 for probably a $50,000 to $60,000 job. So these are big things. Make sure when you're going to look at insurance companies, you're going to go and have quotes done, renewals, that you have your backup of sewer and drain coverage on there. Because again, if you have anything done in water damage in the basement area, there will not be coverage for you. Now let's say you do have water in your basement and you call Spencer out to come and check it out for you. Spencer, what is it that you guys first do when you come out to a homeowner?
The first thing we do is when we take the phone call, we'll go through the list of questions, asking you where the water came from. Was it a sewer backup? Was it a broken pipe? And establish that and get all the basic information. Ask you if you've stopped the water. If it's a bad sump pump, has a plumber been called? Do you need our assistance in getting a plumber there? We get all that there. Once we get on site, the project managers will assess the damage, see what's going on there. We'll walk through, find where the water goes, and then put a plan together on getting it done, sign a work off, and then get with you and help on the insurance side, see if they have coverage and start on that. So that's kind of the first step that we do when we're there.
Okay. And once you guys kind of get an idea of where the water's coming from, make sure they have coverages and such, and you and your guys are, then what's the plan of attack, I guess, per that?
The plan of attack, so we'll take the frozen pipes, and so what we've been doing there. Okay. So right now, most of that's either overhead or same floors, come through multiple layers. So we'll typically start at the top and start cleaning our way down, extracting the water to stop the flow. If drywall, plaster, or anything needs to be removed, we'll get that removed and out of the way, and then work through the layers to where you're extracted. Then we start setting the equipment. That's where the science comes in, and the part that we really enjoy is the science behind drying. So setting fans and dehumidifiers and applying heat if we need to, tenting areas off so we can control the humidity. and stop mold from growing.
So there is a science behind this.
There is. There's a science to drying.
I like that.
And then typically your average dry time, you're looking at 3 days.
3 days.
Is what they call for structural drying. That's kind of the insurance standard where they like us to see it. And we moisture map everything and track it. You may have some rare situations where you're into a 4 or a 5 day, but our target is a 3 day dry.
So you can come from, let's say I call you up with one of our insureds and say, Mr. Customer here has, water in his basement. And from the time that you get there until it's a finished, job, that's a 3 day period.
To dry, we're 3 to 4 days completely dry. And then obviously if there's repairs that need to be made, then, those get scheduled. But typically you're looking at a 3 to 5 day total process to being completely dry.
From sucking everything out, cleaning it up, and getting back to whole again.
Yep, everybody out of your way. So.
Nice. Now, Spencer, do you also do interior jobs sometimes as well?
We do. So a lot of it's interior. We'll keep some repairs. We've got a great group of contractors that we sub out for the repair work to help you get put back together. A lot of times, in the case of a flooded basement, you're pulling out carpet, maybe pad or just the pad, and getting that down. So we have a great group of contractors that are local that we can get you set up with to get you back on the mend.
All right, that sounds great, Spencer. Now, what is one thing, there's a lot of restoration companies out there that you can hear of, such as your ServPros and other items like that. What sets you apart from those guys?
The biggest thing is we're locally owned and operated. We're invested in the community. We give back to the community. We coach sporting teams, and, I think the feeling of community is important to my family. We own a real estate company in town as well.
Sure.
And, I want to see that money invested here. We hire all local workers. We've got 8 to 10 full-time people at any given time that live in the community, and kids go to school here. So we really are invested in the community, and we have a great community here.
Good deal. I agree with that. Back to Charleston, we're a great little county per se. Is there any tips or anything that you could give homeowners to where they may be able to prevent certain items?
Absolutely. In big cat losses where you may not be able to get a restoration company out there right away. The first thing you want to do is stop the water if you can. So if it's a burst pipe, get your water heater, get to a shutoff, have somebody shut the water off so you can stop the amount of water that's coming in. High value pictures, paintings, furs, anything that's can be subject to what we call secondary humidity damage. Move those out to a safe location, and making sure we have good, clean access there. Safety would be probably the one thing I would say would be number one. If you walk down, you have 2 feet of water in your basement, don't just go walking down into it. If the water's up in your electrical outlets, you're going to get shocked or killed, or one of your kids could get it. So safety would be number one. But dabbing up any small amounts of water you can, and then call a restoration company, whether it be us or someone else, so they can help get you dried and stop mold from coming.
Now, Spencer did touch on something there when he said a cat loss. What he's saying there is a catastrophic loss. And I just want to touch on something, I'm glad you brought that up actually, is when a catastrophic loss, an insurance declares an area, and this is for weather-related items, when there is a catastrophic type loss, whether it be your State Farm office, country companies, or anything like that, claims are looked at differently then too. They also are accounted differently against your claim history and such, so on and so forth. I did just want to kind of touch on that. That's about all we got today. I mean, do you have anything else to add? Do you have any examples that you would like to go and share that you've been a part of?
Not that I can think of. They're kind of water's water, so it gets a little fun. But fires would be the one we kind of didn't touch about it. But in a fire loss, it's kind of a different dynamic because you have you may not have power to your house, you may not have water. So in those cases, we recommend you don't touch anything. One, on the insurance side, you never know if they're going to want to do their own independent inspection, and so you don't want to tamper with the site until you've gotten the all clear from there. And then really from there, we just turn it over and work with you and your insurance company to make sure you get paid, and we can help you anyway there. Typically, you won't see an adjuster for 3 days on a water loss. They want to come in after we've got it dried so they can get a full scope of what the repairs are going to be, to know what's going to have to be put back together. And I don't think they like to walk through what's wet. So.
Sure. And, with you bringing that up and everything with the independent side, you want to kind of touch on what you do for that, for the insurance side? And also,
I've always been fascinated with the insurance side of it. So kind of as a hobby, I do independent adjusting for a couple insurance companies. And I think it helps on both sides of the claim because I understand where the insurance company is coming. On the restoration side, we work for the homeowners. So we always have your best interest at heart. And we'll guide you through the best we can from there and work with you on your coverages and whatnot. And then it helps me from the independent adjuster side. I kind of understand where the policy holders and the limits and
Sure.
things like that come from. So gives us a good understanding of it. You know, we've been very blessed with the workers that we have working for us, and we wouldn't be here without those guys. The last week, they've really showed why they love what they do and why they're the experts at it. They step up and
It always takes a good team.